For today's devotional, I want to take a look at Psalm 114. And here's what it says. When Israel came out of Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of foreign tongue, Judah became God's sanctuary, Israel his dominion. The sea looked and fled, the Jordan turned back, the mountains leaped like rams, the hills like lambs. Why is it, sea, that you fled? Why, Jordan, did you turn back? Why, mountains, did you leap like rams, you hills like lambs? Tremble, earth, at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob, who turned the rock into a pool, the hard rock into springs of water. Again, it's such an interesting perspective because as the children of Israel were leaving slavery in Egypt, they moved through the Red Sea, they moved through the Jordan River, they experienced God's provision in the wilderness in between. And this passage is talking about why did all of these things happen? Again, it could be easy for us to look at those situations and say, well, maybe they had the right leaders, or they knew the right way to pray, or they were just so desperate, or whatever it might be. But it was the presence of God that made all of the difference. Again, verse 7 reminds us of this, that the earth trembles at the presence of the Lord. This is why these things changed. Because God was present and active. He was dwelling within his people. As he moved towards the Red Sea, it fled. As he moved towards the Jordan, it opened up. And this picture of the mountains and the hills leaping and moving aside, everything shifting at the presence of God, making the way clear and open. And mountains and hills are sometimes used in the scriptures as an image for obstacles or difficulty or trouble. I think that's what this passage is saying, that these things just flee and move out of the way from the presence of the Lord. I think it's important for us to remember in our Christian walk that it's the presence of it is the presence of the Lord that makes a difference. It's the movement of the Spirit of God within us. That God himself lives within his people. And because his presence is in us, this is what makes all of the difference. I think sometimes over the course of my journey, I felt a lot of pressure to kind of get things right. I felt like I've got to deal with this particular area of sin in my life. I've got to be really conscientious to grow in these particular areas. I've been really focused on the nuts and bolts of all the different things that need to happen so that I can be more whole or complete or serve God more faithfully. But the key piece of it all really is the presence of the Lord. How much am I full of the presence of God? Because sometimes we get these things reversed. Sometimes we want to be free of sin so that we can be whole, or we can be put together, or we can feel like we're all right, or not ashamed of things. Sometimes we want our circumstances to work out because we just want everything to be smooth. Sometimes we feel like we need to grow in this way so that we can be perfect or whole, but that isn't the point. The reason that we deal with sin, the reason that we want our circumstances to work out a particular way, the reason that we want to grow in these things is so that we can experience more of God. We want to be free of sin so that it doesn't offend him, so we can drink more deeply of his presence. We want to continue to grow in him and through him in all the things that are good and right. It's not primarily about our safety or our security and circumstances. It is about the presence of the Lord. Because as God is in us and filling us more and more and more, he strengthens and empowers us for everything that each day holds. He is the creator and sustainer of all of the universe. And I think sometimes we miss a bit of what this looks like. Sometimes we think of God as maybe being so small or distant. We don't have an accurate perspective of his power, his authority, his goodness, of all that he can do. I think if we really believed that God was truly God and could do anything, that he was mighty and powerful, we would seek him in a very different way. But for too many of us, I think we have a small view of God. We think so often that our troubles or our difficulties or our own personal struggles are just so much bigger. We feel like we can't go to him for the particular things that we need. Maybe we've been damaged in some way over the course of time. What I want to encourage you to do today is just spend some time just asking God for more of his presence. Just seeking a deeper relationship with Jesus. Just asking him for more of himself to live in and through, that he would right your perspective and give you strength to be able to move forward. But really the key thing is that we need more of the presence of God within us. Because that's the central feature of all of life now and throughout eternity, is how we are living in the presence of God. So as you go through this day and the days ahead, may God bless you with a really deep and a growing sense of his presence in you and with you. God bless you.